Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel, Books and Brews. My name is AJ, and I want to welcome you to the very first video that is BookTube Newbie Tag, where I introduce myself, introduce my channel, and hopefully you get to have a glimpse of what my channel is about and get to stay if you want and get to join me on this journey. So, first of all, I do want to apologize for sounding like I've been smoking for 30 years before I press the record button on this software. um but yeah, I am sick and I have been down for the past few days, but I did not want to put this recording off because I had a lot of things that happened in the past couple of months that have kind of made me put off the recording on and off and on and off and on and off, and I'm just done. I just want to get it done so that I can get started and focus. So let me get started with the questions, and then you can see if this is a person you want to stick with, or if I'm just another person that you're just going to never see because I will be drowning under the millions of videos that are posted every day. Okay, let's focus. So, the very first question is, why did you start this channel? So, I started this channel personally to hold myself accountable because I do want to read more fictional books. I have unfortunately been unable to read fiction for the past almost decade. I am currently 29, almost 29 years old. And due to restrictions of my educational background, I unfortunately did not have time to read more than what was required or what I had to read in my educational field, which was cultural politics. So I didn't read much when it came to fiction, unfortunately. So that's why I started this channel. I wanted to share my journey as someone who's discovering all of the books that have been loved across the globe, like Harry Potter, Twilight, and The Hunger Games, which I do know only from the movies mostly. I have never read the books. I've never came across them in a fucking library or in a bookstore because they are ghosts in this country. They do not exist. And this is not just these types of books like that I'm naming, but probably every book that I have seen any booktuber or any book talker talk about, I I have not really seen in here. Like it's very rarely that I would see them. And like I have seen some Colleen Hoover books, which I did not pick up because I'm not a fan of her books, but I will explain in detail mostly in the end of the video so that we can keep the very first part, which answers these questions, a little bit more lighthearted. So, the second question is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? I don't know if I can claim that there is something fun I can bring or unique, because I don't want to make false claims. I don't want to make false promises. I don't want to give you hope of something that I'm never going to be deliver on. So from my point of view, what I can bring is the point of the perspective of a non-white, non-Westerner person who self-taught English, who has a master's in cultural politics, and who might use that in analyzing books and analyzing identities of characters, and while we're talking about plots and stuff like that. So that is what I want to bring to the table, whether that is fun, whether that is unique, whether that is something that you would love, whether that is something that is considered valuable, that I believe is up to whoever is listening. That is up to you. I can't really, I can't really decide that I am a fun person if you don't find me fun, and I can't decide that I am a unique person if you don't find me unique. So that is up to you. The third question is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? So for me, what I am most excited about for the channel is the journey itself. It's about reading all of these books that I did not have the chance to read, and then discovering all of the things that people fell in love with or hated, things that I mostly only heard about. So yeah, I am excited for the journey itself. Excited about discovering myself as well in these books. So sorry, I was about to cough into the microphone directly. That would not have been fun. Okay, so I will answer more questions, or like disclose more at the end of the video. I promise. I'll even since you're gonna be watching this, I will put a time frame if you would like to skip to the end of it to hear the brunt of the entire conversation as opposed to me babbling about. So, okay, so the reason why I love reading is because you get to lose yourself in the pages. You get to discover this entire world, this entire culture, get to fall in love with characters. You get to escape the world, our world, for a little bit. And to someone like me, that meant a lot. It meant a lot to be able to lose yourself in pages. And that's why I love reading. And I do want to go back to it. Okay, so the fourth question is, what book or series got you into reading? Okay, so this is a bit of a long story, and I will explain. So, despite my current accent that you're hearing, I am not British. I'm not from the UK. Was not born there. Was not raised there. I have self-taught myself English. I have self-taught myself English in two ways: translating songs into my mother tongue, and then watching BBC and copying what they were saying as I was reading the subtitles. So I have gotten stuck with the accent because that is how I learned English. At the point where I was a little bit advanced, some unlucky tourist, but lucky me, has forgotten a book, a very important book that I will never forget the title of. It is neither the title nor the author. The title is called Fear Not, and the title is Anne Holt. Sorry, the author is Anne Holt, and she's a Norwegian, I believe, a Norwegian author. Um, so my father came home and he brought the book. None of my family speak English. So he brought the book and he was like, "Oh, you've been learning English." And no one at work came to claim the book. Somebody forgot it. They never came back. So here, maybe you can make use of it. And that was my very first English book. Up until that point, all of my reading has been in my mother tongues, and which have not been quite a lot. It's mostly school related. So that was my very first English book that was not mandatory by the school. That was not like supervised or cherry picked by a committee. The book is, I believe, a psychological thriller. I believe I don't remember much because I was 13 or 14 at that time, and I'm pretty sure I am not the target. Sorry, I'm pretty sure I'm not the target demographic of that of the other. I sorry, I'm pretty sure I'm not the target demographic of the author. But the book dealt with LGBTQIA, and there was a serial killer loose in Norway, I believe, and that was the story, and it had many characters, and I'm not even sure because this is a series. I did not know at the time, but the book itself, it was a standalone. Like I could understand everything that was happening in the plot. I could follow quite easily, and it was quite heartbreaking because I fell in love with all of the characters, and then you could literally feel the heartbreak of these characters as their loved ones died, as all of this drama was happening, and the tragedy of like basically causing people's death not by any conscious choice of your own. I don't remember quite a lot about this book, like because I was 14 years old, but I fell in love with it in such a way that it made me fall in love with writing, fall in love with reading, and so I started getting my hands on any type of book that I can. Sorry, that is written in English, which is not a lot in my country, unfortunately, especially at the time. So that's kind of why I love reading. That specific book has stuck with me, and I have given it to a friend after a couple of years. I think I was like 17 or something like that, and I told them about it. I have read it so many times. I remember because it was the only thing that I had, and yeah, I gave it to them, and I hope that it brought them the same joy that it brought me. I hope that it made them think of how much hate can hurt, hating people from the LGBTQIA community, which is quite funny because I am from a quite very, very, very much homophobic country, even though I am myself. I'm asexual, and I am in a romantic relationship with a same sex partner. I suppose that is how that is how I can prescribe it. Is that the word? That is how I can describe it. That is the word I'm looking for. But yeah, obviously I will explain more. I feel like I keep saying I will explain more at the end, but there's a lot to say that I cannot disclose in this. While I'm answering questions, I feel like uh, I'm putting too much on your shoulders, and you're just getting to know me. So that is what why I love reading, and that is the book that has made me go into reading. I would love to say that it was Harry Potter, like most of the people who start reading, because I guess Harry Potter, especially for people who are around my age, has been quite a big part, I guess, of everybody's lives at that point when they were kids. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Yes, one question. How do you find the time to read as many books as you can? Like, cause for me, um, it's quite hard. I do have a 9 to 5 job, which is normal. Obviously, I do have bills to pay, and at the end of the day, I just want to go and you know, get my food, eat, and then go to sleep, and that's it. I am very much spent by the end of the day. So that is my question. How do you read as much as you do, even for small YouTube channels? I'm not talking about the big ones who are doing it as a living, because obviously that's their living, that is their job. But I am talking about people like me, the small channels who have just gotten started. How do you find the time? Please enlighten me. Yeah. So, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I think that this would be it. I think for me, it's going to be finding the time to not only read but also edit and post. Because now what I'm doing is I'm trying to get ahead of the curve, which means I'm trying to read as much as possible and do my reviews ahead of the time, and then schedule them so that I do have like at least a video per week up for you, so that you don't have to wait, or I don't have to disappear, because I know that that's terrible. It would be very terrible of me to get you all hooked up. I don't think this is much of a hook, but it would be very terrible of me to get you hooked up and then disappear for 3 months and then be like, huh, yeah, I just took 3 months to read a book that's for middle grade. That would be very bad of me. I think that is the biggest hurdle, or like the biggest challenge for me, is being organized enough to always be ahead of the curve. That way I don't leave anyone who's expecting a video review up and running at a certain time waiting. So when did you start reading? Oh, I already answered this. I start. If we're talking about my other mother tongues, I did start reading fairly young. I had read like the classics, Alice in Wonderland. I don't even know what else, because there were like these classic books in French mostly that are available for little kids. Those books that you read for like your 3-year-old or whatever. And I had most of my readings, as I said, mandatory school readings as a first grader, second grader, basically in middle school, primary school, and high school. So I have read most of my life. But I guess for me, the major reading experience was the one that I shared with you, which was about 13 to 14 years old. That's when I actually started taking a liking to books. because it was no longer like, "Oh, you have to read this for a class. You have to read this because we have to discuss all of the themes." And then you go to class, and then your teacher tells you this this is the theme of the book. You don't even see it as a kid, you know. You just get fed the information. So I think that, as I said, 13, that is the very first time that I felt I have read by choice, not by by reason of not failing a class. So where do you read? Okay, so because I do have a very limited space, I mostly read either at my desk because I work from home, or at my bed. So I don't really have a lot of spaces to read at. Back when I did commute to work, I would be reading either on the bus or on the cab, you know, whatever my means of transportation is. I would be reading on my way to work because I did have quite a big commute of about 2 hours, so about 4 hours total a day. So yeah, that's when I did most of my reading. What kind of books do you like to read? Okay, so I very much, when I was doing my master's thesis, like research, I did enjoy finding out about my heritage because there's a lot of deleted history in my country. So I very much love those books, and I do want to continue reading them. But when it comes to fictional books, my favorite type is fantasy, like epic fantasy. I do want to read the entire work of J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm a big fan of the movies themselves. I have watched them many times, and they were a big part of my growing up because they were played constantly on TV as I was growing up. And I know that most people at that time. So when I was a kid, which is the early 2000s, about the early 2000s, that's when the first Harry Potter movie came out. But I did not personally have access to that until maybe a couple of years after it came out. So Lord of the Rings came out prior to that, I think in 1999 or a little bit, a little bit more back, I guess. I'm not really too sure about the timing of the release. They were available on TV a lot quicker than Harry Potter was. So my first experience with like fantasy world was what's his name? Peter Jackson. Oh my god, I am terrible with names. Yeah, Peter Jackson. Okay, that is the name. I had to Google it just to make sure that I was not saying the wrong name. And funny story, I have always wanted the books and I could never find them. I could never, ever, ever find them. Because again, books in English here are quite rare. And even in French is not available. And even in my mother tongue is not available. Even my other mother tongue is not even gonna be available. There are not many books in my mother tongue that are translated to it or even written in it. So in about 2019, I was in Amsterdam and I shit you not, Lord of the Rings. I will put the edition, like the type that I found. I think it has all of the books, like the complete work, except for the I can't say that name. Silmarinian. I can't fucking say it. Sorry, but you know what I mean. I found it and I recalled, I was like, okay, maybe someone put it there and then they forgot. So they're going to come back for it. And I was really shocked because I went throughout my day and I was just like, oh my God, I hope I find it still there at the end of the day because I really want it. And on my way back home, like to my staying place at that time, I found it still in the same spot, and I was just like, okay, this has to be a sign, and so I took it. I was maybe 23 or something. I still have it. I haven't completely read it, because I have been busy. Unfortunately, I have started it, and I feel like that is my gift, like from the universe. I absolutely love. I love how that came to be, and it's just funny that sometimes things are given to us when we least expect them. So, what does your book collection look like? Well, not like I can share. Most of my books, and I know this would be controversial to a lot of people, but most of my reading has been done through pirating, And that would be for the fact that, as I mentioned, there are not a lot of books that are available in English, neither in French nor in my mother tongues. We have a very limited available book selection, all in all, because of the regime, because of who's in control, because of everything that is being monitored. And while a lot of books do get through due to reasons of either lobbying or, because if it's a big publishing house, who they might have leeway, or they might find ways to kind of bypass the laws. For example, most of the books that I can find are Colin Hoover books, and where I find them is close to what you would consider a book dealer, meaning they are brought into the country illegally. Meaning, even if I do buy from those book dealers, the author is not going to be getting any money, because some of those prints are printed illegally, and some of those prints are also secondhand books, one or the other. So that is kind of the reality of my world. I would love to actually buy books, even though they are kind of expensive, they are a bit of a commodity, to have access to books. We have a lot of censorship going on. We have a lot of illegality that can get you in trouble if you're caught with a wrong book. So most of my reading has been done by pirating books online, because at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, you can click on delete and you're mostly safe. Whereas if you are caught with a book that can be considered a threat to national security, that would be problematic to you as a person, and you might end up being prosecuted for treason, for domestic terrorism. You might be there are a lot of articles in our constitution that you could be tried for, and books are used for that, unfortunately. Most of the books that I do have, as I said, are in digital format. I do have a very limited, physical collection that I had acquired from book dealers. None of them are controversial books, because I would never be stupid enough to risk my life, especially now that we have access to the internet. I know that authors may not be very happy to hear that they're losing on money, but unfortunately for you, you're not gonna get my money even if I wanted to, because your books are not available here legally. No matter what, you're in a lose-lose situation, and I'm in a lose-lose situation. So I hope you understand that this is more of a necessary evil. At least I would be able to access your book in some format, either by buying it secondhand, which is also brought illegally into my country, or getting it from any pirating website that is available. And that is the reality of things, and that's kind of why I'm not sharing my face, because I live in a country that is not quite safe for me to be very vocal about my opinions, about my beliefs, about my sexuality, about who I am as a person. And I understand that there is a bit of an irony, because I'm saying all of these things and putting them online into a platform that does give you freedom of speech to some extent, or freedom of expression. And I'm saying that I'm being censored, which is ironic, but it is the truth. And two can be real at the same time. And it is one of the other reasons why I wanted to make this channel. And I'm getting quite real with you here. I feel like a lot of people don't know how lucky and privileged they are because of the world that they live in and the things that they see. And they tend to forget that pain, suffering is literally just one corrupt person away. That is the reality of my country, where we're being restricted books, our media is owned by the government, our movies are being censored because every script has to go through the government, plays have to go through the government, music has to go through the government, and then you don't have freedom, not even of your thoughts. And this is my way of reclaiming that to some extent, to own it, to be my own person, to have my voice back, to have my freedom. And I hope that you can enjoy whatever I have to say, even if for a little bit. And I hope that you get to stick with me. And I'm sorry that this has gotten a bit too heavy at the end, but it's hard. And I hope that I can escape in lovely books yet to come and to share it with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm about to break down, but yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves.